So do you want to talk about something specific, or have you got it?
I think it's just for the
children. That was what the heart of your question was. So what might they ask you that you're looking to, what are you wanting to express to them? Or are they asking for anything yet?
like verbally or energetically.
Anyway.
They're asking for the thing that I'm fighting for, which is my time and presence, and like the shared custody.
Yeah.
And everything when I'm in alignment says that if there is a fight, then it's worth, I hear that it's worth having 50% of their time, regardless of how hard that is to make happen. And I think that was really why I came up here, is because that's what I want to manifest, because I believe that's for the highest good for the children and for everybody, is that to be raised both by their mom and their dad in equal way.
Yeah.
And so I want to be clean about how I'm manifesting that.
All right, so let us give you something that will really help you in this, because when you think about it, have you ever split up your life with somebody else and it's your turn, I don't want it today, it's your turn, I don't want it today, well, they've got this that they've got to do and they've got this, it's a nightmare. Mm-hmm. Figuring all of that out, it can be a logistical thing that just keeps everybody all discombobulated all the time. Or you can let the cooperative components of the universe sort of divine it and define it. So we just want to sort of start with that premise, because there are things that the universe can orchestrate that you couldn't orchestrate if you tried to put it together. In other words, it's just uncanny, the cleverness of the universe in giving you something that's of interest to you. There are thousands of examples that we could give, and that you could give too, where things just line up. Last week, Esther was at the airport and she was texting a friend, and she was in San Diego on her way to Dallas. And her friend said, "Where are you going?" And Esther wrote Dallas, and then she wrote yeehaw. Now, that's not something that Esther has ever written in her life. She doesn't know why she did it. Dallas, yeehaw. So her friend LOL'd her back, and that was the end of that. And now they're landing in Dallas on Southwest Airlines. And the flight attendant says, "Welcome to Dallas, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Love-Filled, the home of Southwest Airlines." And the passenger said, "Yeehaw." And Esther thought, now the universe set me up for that. I know the universe set me up for that, because I've been on thousands of flights. Never has a yeehaw been uttered, and never right after I've set myself up for that. And so now the seminar goes on, and we are telling the story because we are so delighted with the way the universe can line everything up, both what you think is trivial and what you think is significant. And it doesn't make any difference to the universe. The ability to line up castles or buttons is equal. It's just all on what you're focused upon. And so we are telling that story, and then we chose someone from the back of the room who was all lighted up, and what she wanted to say is, on the way in, she saw a license plate that said yeehaw. And it just goes on and on and on. Now, if the universe can be so clever as to orchestrate those kinds of ridiculously unimportant things, don't you think the things that really matter for you are in the vortex and are being orchestrated and tended to? The things that you're lighthearted about, you allow to happen more in your experience, where the things that you're more worried about, you don't allow to happen so well. And so what we're getting at is that as you understand that it's very difficult for humans to get together and schedule the rest of their lives. But if you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and expecting the universal forces to yield to you in this lovely timing, now you may be, usually the one who's leaving is more feeling friendly than the one who has not made that decision. It's easy to understand that too. And sometimes when someone feels disadvantaged, then they're fighting, and often people use their children as leverage and those kinds of things, and that's really something that you don't want to happen. But we want to give you something really big that will help you a lot. And it will lead to this thing that you want, which is an amicable sharing of your time. So just take a beat and hear this. It matters so much that you know this. Your relationship with your children, with anyone, but your relation with your children is 1,000 times, more than 1,000 times, a vibrational relationship than it is a physical relationship. The thoughts that you think and the way you feel are much more the basis of the relationship than the time you spend. For example, let's say that you've been given the 50% share that you want, but you're really busy on this particular day that you're meeting, and it would have been better if you didn't go, but out of obligation you do go, so you're with your children, but you're wishing that you were doing something else. That's not a vibrational state of being that is good for them. You got what you wanted the court to give you, you got what you wanted to get from the other one, and it's not working for you because you're not in alignment about it. Or let's say it's a holiday and you're not with your kids and you're lonely for them. Well, that's not doing it either. Make a decision and line up with it. And the decision that you want to make is, I love these kids and they love me, and we have an eternal relationship together, and certainly a lifetime of opportunity together. And when you feel that way, the universe will just orchestrate things that are almost unfathomable. You really don't want to dictate to them, this is your time that you're supposed to be with me. You really want that? Oh, there's something going on and I really wanted to do. Nope. This is your time that you're supposed to be with me, and if you don't come with me when you're supposed to be with me, that's a slippery slope, and before you know it, you'll never get. No, the universe is smarter than that. The ability to orchestrate, if the universe can give Esther 3 yeehaws, and there are more coming, it certainly can deal with something that matters as much as that. You see what we're getting at? And so, of course you want it, and we're not saying don't ask for it. We're just saying don't get in a place where you're pushing hard against not having it. Don't let that be the basis of your fight. Don't fight about it. Love it into being. Love it into being by acknowledging how much you love to be with your kids. Ask yourself, as you're one of those people in one of those piles, what pile are you in when you're having that thought? Are you under the influence of source? Are you under the influence of source when you're making a demand? Never. Are you under the influence of source when you're asking for something? Often. Are you under the influence of source when you're expecting positive turnout? Yeah. Are you under the influence of source when you know that things are always working out for you? The point that we're making is no group of humans has the ability to come even close to orchestrating on the behalf of everyone involved like your inner being does. You have no choice if you want things to go well other than lining up with your inner being. And you can't line up with your inner being while you're fighting with your ex-wife. You just can't. And so there are a lot of beliefs that are getting stirred up, like I don't want to be a doormat, and I don't want to just lie down and let somebody else get everything that they want, and I don't want to not stand up for something that I want. And we're saying, do all of those things, but do something else first. Get into alignment with who you really are. Get into alignment with who you really are. Wouldn't this be nice? How many kids are there?
2.
So there's 4 of you, and you've got this collaborative vortex where as you've lived together and as you've lived life independently of each other and with each other, you've created this vibrational atmosphere. And these kids, as the adults, your vortex was in place even before you got here to some extent. You have intention. So here's this vibrational reality, and it is delightful. And all inner beings are delighted about what you all are planning, have planned and are planning for your living happily ever after. And so wouldn't it be nice if all 4 could line up and know that? Ooh, that could just be the most delicious experience. But that's probably not going to happen anytime. But the odds of the kids being there, pretty good. And the odds of you being there, because you understand that, pretty good. And even if it was only you, even if you were the only one lined up with that, remember, one who's connected to this source of well-being is more powerful and more influential than millions who are not. So all of your power comes from your alignment, your power to get what you want. So we're going to put it to you in this way, and we know that you're going to hear it. This is going to clarify it all in a way that will just make it easy for you to just breathe it in. We're going to make 2 statements, and we want you to take both of them in. The first statement is, we're going to modulate Esther's volume because she wants to scream it, because she can feel the intensity of it within us. There is an awesome power in non-resisted thought. There is an awesome power in non-resisted thought. If you don't get crossways of yourself, power. Now the next statement that we want you to like even more than that one. The awesome pleasure of non-resisted thought. The pleasure of non-resistant thought. Because if you're thinking in terms of tuning in, tapping in, turning on for the power, then there's a tendency to want to use that power against something. And then it gets all wonky. When you're looking for the awesome pleasure of non-resisted thought, now you're in that right vibe, and now you're feeling good, and now you're mostly radiating love, and now the true basis of your relationship with your children, with all of you, the true basis of your relationship is steady and true. It matters so much more how you feel about your children than how much time you spend with them. And that's hard for you to hear, because humans have said, if you don't care about them, you're not spending time with them. And if you do care about them, you are spending time with them. That's not true. It's what you are radiating vibrationally, because when you are thinking about your children in the way that your inner being and their inner being is thinking about them, can you feel what they feel about you? But if you're feeling guilty and worried and resentful and pushing against someone so that you haven't joined forces, so to speak, with your inner being, now you're out on that raw and ragged edge, and you are not nearly as influential in helping them to understand the power of your eternal relationship with them. You're not worried about them. You don't think that they need to be dependent upon you. You know who they are. You know who they were born to be. You know what their potential and capability is. You want them to live happily ever after. You're learning how to do that yourself. You wish that and want that for them. That's the part of you that you'll promote for them. That's what will happen. That's the way it will all come about. There is no reason not to live happily ever after in divorce. There's no reason. There's no reason not to live happily after. No one ever said that happily ever after only comes in marriage. In fact, we're here to tell you it hardly ever is. Most people are putting up with each other, feeling like they're in a trap, not being in accord with who they are, because they're choosing another human to cater to rather than finding alignment for themselves. You got that, didn't you? So we're not encouraging that. Don't go home and leave everybody. Just love them from inside the vortex.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. There you are. There you are. There you are. And so